Today on Tricurl Studios, we talk about 5 things that I wish I had known about Fender Stratocasters. Now, I'm not going to be doing any playing in this video, it's all talk, so I have to apologize for that first and foremost. I'm also not going to talk about things, like general things like single coil versus humbucker, or Fender versus Gibson, or Fender versus Paul Reed Smith, or what have you, anything like that. These are just 5 things that kind of really stuck out for me, and there's definitely better lists out there. So number 1 is the ice pick bridge sound and the tone control. Now a lot of people out there will say for Strats themselves, when you have it on the bridge pickup, yeah, there's a lot of high end that comes through. Some people sometimes call that spanky. However, a lot of people do refer to it as ice picky. Now that is something, before I really gained a bigger appreciation of Strats, that I felt, and I always just used a Strat on the neck pickup or in the middle position. However, you'll notice that it's volume, tone, and tone. The middle tone here, or sorry, the tone that's in the middle of the 3 is for the neck, whereas the other tone is for positions 1 to 3, so the bridge. What I generally do is I'll roll back the tone to about 8 or 9. If I'm playing anything with a lot of gain, sometimes I'll put that at like 5 or 6. That actually cures that and brings it to a much more pleasing sound. Number 2 is positions 2 and 4. So I've always kind of thought of it as position 2 is country, and position 4 is like not exactly country, maybe some alternative type sounds. However, once I again gained a little more appreciation for it, you can actually find that position 2 is like that traditional Strat sounds, like that quacky kind of crystal clear clean sound, and position 4 is basically the neck but dialed back a little bit, not too focused on the low end. And I find when, like, as a lead player, not the best lead player, but generally a lead player, it's very easy to actually cycle through to get a little more phrasing in your playing, and also gives you a little bit more of a renewal, I guess you would say, if you're stuck in certain areas. So if you're coming up with something, sometimes just a little bit of a flick of the positions here will give you a better sound. That was one of the reasons why I really started getting more into Strats, because you can actually, as you're playing, flick things around, which gives you definitely a lot more tonal options than something like, say, a Les Paul, where a lot of those nuances come from either rolling back the volume or the tone. Number 3 would be the adjustments. Now, personally, coming from the world of like Gibson, Gretsch, Paul Reed Smith, those type of adjustments, when you're making your adjustments, it's all on the bridge itself. So like pivoting the bridge, bridge height. Obviously, you can adjust like intonation individually and such. But the fact that when you look at a bridge on a Fender Strat or like even a Telecaster, what have you, there's just so many more options for your adjusting. So you can raise the front end of the bridge and pull the bridge back, giving you a little more tension. You can adjust the string height of each individual string. And of course, you've got different things like moving your saddles and such like that to give you a little more intonation. This scared me initially, until I actually started adjusting Strats. Like, I'd get a new Strat and then I would kind of sit down and play and make little adjustments as I'm playing. Normally that's like, to be honest, it should only take 10 minutes, but I find that it usually takes me now like an hour to 2 hours to do it. Not because it's hard to do, but I just enjoy that period so much of doing your initial adjustments. And I find much more than like a tune-o-matic or what have you, or definitely like a wraparound bridge, you can get things just exactly right to where you want them. Number 4, Strats are acoustically brighter than Gibsons. Now, I know that Strats are electric guitars, and generally we're playing them plugged into an amplifier. However, it's just something that it translates from your ears and, of course, to the feel of it while you're playing. But when you're striking the strings on a Strat, you're definitely feeling a little more brighter tone in the fingers as you're kind of doing this and digging in than, say, on something like a Les Paul or an SG or a Firebird or an Explorer or a Flying V. Again, I do know that this is an electric instrument and you're generally plugging it into the amp, but one of the biggest things that I don't know why is ignored, other than sound, the most important part of any guitar is how it feels to you, and just you feel that brightness in the playing. And number 5, the different saddle types. So here I have a 2010 Fender American Deluxe Stratocaster that has the block saddles, which I've been getting a lot of comments asking, are those actually Fender saddles, or is that actually a Fender bridge? Yes, there was a period that they actually didn't use the bent saddles, they used block saddles, which there's a little bit of a groove in there to actually guide the string, versus, again, as I did mention, this is a 2017, it's 2017, 2017 Fender Rarities Quilt Maple Top Stratocaster, which is a vintage style, so it does definitely come with the bent saddles here. So the big difference to me, and this is again what I wish I had known out of my complete ignorance, there's a little more vibration when you're digging in with the bent saddles, and perhaps this is just personal. Again, it's my list. But I don't know if it's because of the guide or what have you, or the notch. But when you're digging in, what have you, you just feel a little more vibration from the string in the bridge, in both your picking hand and your fretting hand. That doesn't necessarily mean that the bent saddles are inferior or anything like that. They don't really have that little groove or that guide. So in some cases they can actually slip or slide, which is not something that you'd really encounter a lot. However, because it doesn't really have that little notch there, the string doesn't exactly stay in place. But again, it doesn't mean that it's bad. You've got things like the compensated wraparound bridge from Gibson, which is one of my favorite bridges. It's just, I don't know, I kind of describe it as electrifying, and when you're bending, it doesn't have that little plink with, even though I'm talking about something completely different like the lightning bar and stuff like that. So I find that bending with bent saddles, again, this is all personally completely not believe this or not agree with me, it's not a problem. I find bending with the bent saddles a little more enjoyable, whereas with the block saddles, I'm finding that just the extra bit of vibration from any type of playing is just a little more pleasing to me. So best of both worlds when you have, I don't know, it's best of both worlds, but it's good to have two options. That sounds stupid. So there you go, 5 things I wish I had known about Stratocasters. Again, there's definitely better lists out there, and there's definitely more poignant points that could be made. But it's my list, and it's things that I wish I had known to maybe combat some of my ignorance, where I literally looked at Strats as just like, you know, it's good for blues and country. I was stupid. Anyway, they're also quickly becoming my favorite guitar. I mean, I have 12 Gibson Les Pauls, but I have 12 and a half Fender American Strats. Thanks for watching. Strat Telly.